Okay, let's begin. I am Lanice Antoine Shelley, and I'll be your host through constructive, healing-based conversations designed to illuminate the adoptee, parents, and the adoption curious. We center the topics around community, mentorship, leadership, and healing, so you get a multi-dimensional view that is ultimately empowering. These are the voices who could not speak when they were young. Hey y'all, if you've seen me on Instagram, I'm in my summer glow phase and I am unapologetic about it. My hair is luscious. Fun fact, I didn't start properly treating and doing my own hair until I was a grown adult because like many Black adoptees, no one showed me how to do my own hair. And because I love you all so much, I'm going to share with you my hair secret. I'm always on the lookout for things you'd love and things that will enhance your well-being inside and out. We Unique Cosmetics sent me their Moisture Lock pomade and scalp and hair therapy oil from their Metamorphosis line, and it's so decadent, light, and nourishing, fam. This has become a hair routine staple. It has a soft lemongrass scent that people comment on when I walk by or when they're doing my hair because now I have boho locks. They also sent me a 15% discount link for you to try their products and hair tutorial service. And Unique Cosmetics is Black owned and operated by a mother and daughter duo dedicated to helping the adoptee community. Check out the link in the show notes. And this is for all ages, fam. So tell your friends. So come on, embark on a hair-loving journey with We Unique World. From interactive workshops to premium products, they're all about empowering you to embrace your unique hair journey. Because remember, all hair is good hair, especially when it's healthy. Hello, fam. I hope this week was good to you. Let's do a check-in. How was your heart? I find myself diving deeper into my self-care practices. I was listening to this podcast and a woman brilliantly said, I don't have to fit in self-care because I fit my life around my self-care. And that's exactly right. I schedule everything around meditation, yoga, bike riding, quiet times, whatever. Right now, my mental health is my priority. I know many of you have families in the house, which can make your you time tricky. That's where boundaries come in, my friends. Your relationships will be richer by setting 30 minutes to an hour of uninterrupted time. It's imperative to fill your cup to the brim. One of my favorite things to do is to take my bike Electra, because that is her name and model of the bike. She's a red cruiser that I got for $200 from Recyclery, a refurbished bike shop in Chicago. Chicago has some gorgeous bike trails weaving through the city and along the lake. Such a joyful way to move the body and get out into the fresh air, while still social distancing. Okay, it dawned on me that you have no idea who I am and what I do in the world. Well, I'm an actress, director, and visual artist. I studied at Cornish College of the Arts in Seattle, Washington, British American Drama Academy in Oxford, England, Birmingham Conservatory in Stratford, Canada, Kristen Linklater's Institute in Scotland, and Harvard ART, where we studied at Moscow Art School in Russia. I've been busy. A lot of life has happened between that schooling, though. I'm also a vegan and have been plant-based for over 20 years. Before you gasp in awe, please note that it all started on a dare. It took me years before I was a healthy plant-based person. I grew up in California amongst hippies and African dancers who guided me in this holistic and Afrocentric style. Now, I've always had a heart for serving the community, but it has taken me this long to realize that my community is you. I choose you. My community consists of my beloved adoptee sisters and brothers and parents all over the world. My guests today are my favorite parents, actually. I do have favorites, sorry. I would not be who I am today without their grace and guiding love. They personify what a parental support system should look like and give me constant feedback so that I might become the great woman I desire to be. Heidi Husted Armstrong was the lead pastor of the church I grew up in and my mom's best friend. Karla Shelley-Albert was an elementary school teacher, now retired, who raised me as a single parent. Please welcome my mom and godmother. How are you both?
Good.
Yeah. Excited, a little nervous, but excited.
Well, thank you so much for joining me on When They Were Young. And who are you? What are you in relation to me? I'm curious. Heidi? Adelheid?
I'm Adelheid. I'm Heidi. I'm your godmother, and have been so for your pretty much life since, 4 years old. Mm-hmm. I helped raise you.
You did indeed.
Yes, you did. And
we can go more into the gory details.
Well, I like to say that you were the masculine figure in my life. I think one of these years I actually sent you a Father's Day card.
Did you really? Wow.
I think I did. Just because you were the masculine energy in my life. My other parent, I like to say.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And Karla, Shelley-Albert, who are you?
Yes, I'm your mama. Yep. And the one who's got you in my heart and did from the time I met you, actually. So,
okay. Yeah. You both raised me. And what was the experience like going into the adoption? Because you were my mom's roommate at the time. And what a transition that was for you to all of a sudden have two little girls running around the house, wreaking havoc, right? So, Heidi, what was your experience when my mom said that she was bringing us to the States?
Well, there was a whole process that Karla went through. So, I knew this was coming, and Karla and I actually talked about it because we were roommates. We were renting a house together. I was fairly new to the town where your mom had been living. I arrived there to serve the church where your mom was a member, serve as a pastor there. So we had lots of conversations about this, and your mom had this relationship with the orphanage that you were at. But we had lots of conversations about what this would mean for her, what this would mean for my life. And I signed on. I'm like, naively, I signed on because I didn't really know what it meant. Your mom went through a home study process with whatever.
Children's Home Society.
Yeah, Children's Home Society. I actually was a part of that. Even though we weren't technically partners, I was still in the house. It was the house that I shared with your mom. So, I had to go through this home study process too. So, I signed on, Lenise. I was like, okay, I'm in, whatever that means, knowing that technically I wasn't a parent, but that I would be parenting. And though I hadn't parented technically before, I thought, well, okay, here we go. I'll figure it out.
I remember asking you, Heidi, if you would consider even making a commitment, like a 1-year commitment, no matter what happened.
Yeah.
When the girls came home.
And it ended up
give me a year to, get used to being a mom and having kids and just add stability to our little family. And
it was 7 years. Wasn't it 7 years, Kai?
Something like that. Yeah. So much longer than I expected, for sure. But I was, of course, very relieved and pleased that it did work out that way.
And then, of course, Lenise and my life circled back again in high school, her high school years, too. Later on, after I had moved, when you moved back up, or moved, not back again, but moved up to Vancouver, Washington, where I was serving a church then, and you came and lived with me for a year and a half to be able to go to the art school in Vancouver.
Yes.
And that's when you and I were on our own a little bit. Although I think I was calling your mom like every week, like, what do I do now?
This is what you'd say. You'd say, your daughter.
Yeah. Adolescence was a different deal, man.
Oh, most definitely.
Yeah. But there were, I mean, that was a really, it was a hard time, but it was it was a time full of gifts too, because that was the time of Ralph and Susan, and there was such just wonderful gifts during that time, and just the school, and you just blossomed.
Really, yes, your launch into the arts, and in particular theater arts.
But the reality, I'll just finish up, and then you talk to your mom. But the reality of learning to parent was really hard for me, and I realized how influenced I'd been by how I was parented. And, I was parented by mostly an absent father and a rageaholic mother. Yeah. Yes. And then, I lost my dad when I was 14, and I lost my mom. My dad died when I was 14, and my mom died when I was 20. So this whole thing of parenting really kind of threw me for a loop. Mm-hmm. So sorry, but I really practiced on you guys.
And we felt that.
I know you did. And I mean, I got my butt in therapy and, started getting some help with, oh my gosh, I think I'm going to wreck these kids,
But Heidi, I think every parent thinks that. So you are in good company.
Yeah, I think. Well, eventually we moved from this rental house. I bought a house, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to live downstairs. You guys live upstairs. It was a 2-story house, and that was just a kind of another level of sharing my life and sharing my stuff, and letting go of kind of ownership in a way, and really living into my values as a Jesus follower, and like letting go of clinging to myself and really sharing my life. And
letting go of the need to control. That's what children do for you. They teach us that we just cannot control everything.
And this was, I don't know if you remember, Lenny, this was the time when you left for school one day. We had a cat. You left the cat in your room, and when we came home, right? When we came home, the cat had like totally torn up the rug in your room, trying to get out of the room. And I'm like yelling at you. I'm like, what were you thinking? And you're like, I was just like pretending I was going off to college. And it like totally melted my heart what you said.
That was about second grade, I think. That was like seriously. Second grade, and you were already imagining, had such a vivid imagination, Lenise.
And I'm like,
yes,
of course you were imagining going off to college. Okay, let's get the rug fixed.
Yeah, I remember that. I remember how angry you were at me, and the poor cat was traumatized. Poor buddy. So, Mom, what prompted you to adopt? What were you doing in Haiti at the time?
Well, adoption, being a person who adopted, was never on my radar, that's for sure, in any particular way, although I always wanted to be a mom and get married and be a mom. I was 28 years old. But what was happening in my life at the time, I was the area director for Young Life in Chico, and I was working with teenagers. And I was just really thinking about and troubled, actually, by some of the conditions in the world, which exist today. Things like, famine in Ethiopia and just suffering in the world. And I was trying to figure out, how do we in America, Christians in America, relate to those who are suffering in other places? I think I recognize we have such economic privilege here, but I couldn't make the connection, and my heart wanted to. So I decided I need to go. I need to go to a developing country and learn and just see what life is like and gain understanding. And I wanted to go to India and work with Mother Teresa. And I called the Young Life International office, and a woman named Rebecca Hackworth was working there. And she had been to Haiti, and she said, "Oh no, you don't need to go to India. You need to go work with Gladys Thomas in Port-au-Prince, Haiti, and you will love it." And so from there, I just kind of organized a team, and off we went. I had no idea what I was doing or what I was getting myself in for. That was the summer of '84. And all I can say is, oh my goodness, I fell in love with the country of Haiti. It just took my heart. It was shocking, of course. There was more poverty and suffering than I had ever witnessed in my entire life. But apart from that, and alongside that, was this true joy of life and sense of community, there was just so much to learn. The culture was so very different than the United States, and I loved every bit of it. And I just, the countryside is beautiful, the climate, everything about the culture. So I had an opportunity to do numerous things, but the primary one that meant the most to me was working at the home that Gladys had taken on just a few years prior to that. It hadn't been very long. And she had been getting some help in rebuilding the building and improving the conditions for these children that she had been given the care of. And I was so impressed with her and her faith and her willingness to take on, I don't remember, it was about 50 children, I believe. She had no resources personally, but she was just a woman of great faith. And she trusted God that if he gave her this responsibility, he'd provide. So we entered into helping there. We did a carnival and vacation Bible school for a week as part of the time, and just fell in love with the children. Always loved children. Always wanted to be a mom, like I say. But even then, it wasn't common in 1984 for single women to adopt. I didn't know anybody, and so it still didn't even occur to me as a possibility. But I did find myself thinking, what can I do to be a part of an answer for situations like this? And also being troubled by the thought of these beautiful children without families, most of them. And I don't know, I think God just planted a seed. I remember coming home from that trip. I felt like a completely changed person, and I think I was. And I remember talking to Heidi about it, just debriefing. And at some point I said, I feel like I could handle a child. I mean, I know it wouldn't be perfect. I don't have a husband. I have a job that, the income's up and down with young life. But my Lord, I've got so much more than they would have in Haiti, as well as a loving family, a community, a loving church community. I felt like I'd have support. And so I remember, Heidi, you said, well, I'm open. I think it's worth praying about, looking into. And we just kind of started down that road. And I started talking to people who I respected. I wrote Gladys, or maybe I called her on the phone. This was way before cell phones for sure. And that just started the whole process of considering and being open to, should I, could I, would I, was it the right thing? Would it, and all I can say is doors just kept opening. And
how long was the process?
Well,
from the time you decided to
this is going to
engage?
Be shocking. Yeah, I would say it was about 9 months from the time I walked in the door of the Children's Home Society. I finally thought, I'm going to do the old step ahead until doors close. I'm not going to fight for this because maybe this is not something I should be doing at all. I recognize this is a huge thing. I still didn't realize how huge. But I went to the Children's Home Society to see if they would even do an adoption for me. And they moved me right to the top of the list. I think they were kind of intrigued with this single woman who had already been to Haiti, wanting to do a cross-cultural adoption, interracial, international adoption. And so really from the time I went and visited them until I came and picked you and Jesse up, it was about 9 months was all, because these days it's a lot longer. It's a lot longer. So, yeah.
So Heidi was ever steadfast and supportive. Did you feel that from your whole family and other friends in the community?
Hey, I want to share with you something that has changed my life. It's more like someone, my therapist. Why is she so important? Well, because I want to win in this life. I want to break through the carousel of stories I've compiled that hold me back, that keep me from expanding into my full potentiality. Stories of unworthiness, not enoughness, and even stories of questioning why I am here. I also want to stop dumping my unsorted feelings on the people around me and reacting with the same behavioral patterns that keep me stuck. Conversations with my therapist have made me more confident, clearer in my intention, and more centered in my spirit. That is why I am elated that we are sponsored by BetterHelp, where you can, from wherever you happen to be right now, match with a therapist tailored to your exact needs. With BetterHelp, you can tap into a network of over 30,000 licensed and experienced therapists who can help you with a wide range of issues. Someone who you can text at any time and schedule online for either a chat, Zoom, or phone call. And if it turns out that your therapist isn't the right fit, you can switch to a new therapist at no additional cost. Visit the link in the show notes, betterhelp.com, when they were young, to get 10% off the first month. You need to click the link in the show notes in order to get the 10% discount. I want to see you win, beloved. Let's do it together. Visit the link, betterhelp.com, when they were young.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Everybody was very excited. I mean, initially when I was sharing the idea, I went to some friends. Heidi, do you remember some of the older women in our life who now we are the older women in our churches who had raised kids and said, what do you think? Be honest, be honest. And I went to our pastor, Bolick. I went to my boss in Young Life, the regional director of Young Life, talked to family members, talked to close friends. And I definitely feel like people, it was sort of like, you know what? We think this could be a good thing, Karla. We think you'd be a great mom. We're willing to enter into this with you as a kind of support and community. The Soderstroms, Denise, Tom and Christy, just so many good friends who were having children actually, and having babies, and just really were excited and ready to be supportive. So, yes.
You both instilled in me a deep heart for humanitarianism. Where did that come from for you? Did you have mentors or examples in your life that spurred this for you? Because now I am all about it. And you guys definitely taught me how to expand my compassion globally. And I'm curious where that started with both of you.
The short answer for me is Jesus. Really, that's the answer. Not to be trite or anything, but the call of Jesus and the example of Jesus is to sort of like give your life away and love your neighbor. And Lord, when did we see you hungry and thirsty and blah, 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 when you did it to the least. And so to kind of have that direction of my life that is hopefully, by God's grace, not self-centered, but centered on others.
And you became a pastor in 1985?
1983. I came to Chico in 1983. And, 2 years later, you came to Chico.
It was such a great example growing up with you as the head pastor at the church and seeing this powerful woman at the head of this organization. That was such a great example for me. And both of you are highly educated. Heidi, you have your doctorate. Mom, you have a master's. So what was it like for you imparting this humanitarian heart on Jesse and myself? Was that easy? And what were some of the things that you guys facilitated for us?
One thing I'd like to say that's funny when we think back, you picked up things from us, funny things. So can you remember this picture of yourself as a child, Lenise? So girls in Haiti at that time, it was common to wear dresses, and women too. It was very uncommon in the 80s for women in Haiti to be wearing pants culturally. So here you come over to the United States, and it's January, and it's colder than you've ever experienced before. And I'm determined to get pants on you girls to keep you warm, and jackets and everything, kind of all new clothing, really. And I took you shopping for shoes. And do you remember what kind of shoes you wanted? Yeah. Red high tops. Why was that? Because Heidi wore red high tops. Mm-hmm. Yes. So I think you were picking things up. And the other reason, I think you connected with Heidi because you, from a very young age, clearly loved words. You loved language. And it was quite a struggle in that transition. You were losing Creole, which made me so sad. With both you girls, in my mind, I thought, we can keep this language alive. But within 6 months, both of you had lost your ability to communicate fully in Creole, and you were very quickly picking up English. And I think as children, you had no interest in Creole. All the kids you were around in school were speaking English. You wanted to play and relate and be able to communicate. But for a while, you created your own language because you had such a need to speak and lay out whatever you needed to lay out, your feelings, your thoughts. And you would go into these, you preach sermons from time to time. I remember.
Yeah,
do you remember that?
There was a time I wanted to be a preacher, just like Heidi. But we also did a lot of traveling, such as going to Mexico and things like that. How was that dragging kids along for those rides?
It wasn't dragging at all. It was,
okay, good.
No, it was pure joy,
I remember that now. I'd forgotten about those.
Well,
times.
and
on the mission trips we went on. Mm-hmm.
We went up to the Hoopa Indian Reservation. I remember that.
We did it. Remember we went into the city, into San Francisco?
Yeah.
As well. Yeah. Yeah, I forgot about those, Lenise. That's right. It was kind of an urban plunge experience where we took teenagers and we went to different mission organizations that were reaching out to homeless people and food kitchens and those kinds of things, and just kind of mixed and mingled with people, and went to worship service that was very different from our own Presbyterian service. And so
something that I would love to know a little bit more about, how did life change for you once we arrived into the States? I know you weren't painting the town red, but how did life change for you, Heidi? Because you were a single person and now you were in this parental situation.
Oh my gosh, it's hard to even find the words to describe how my life changed. Everything changed. Everything changed. In fact, in those beginning years, Karla, you went back to school.
Yes.
So you had a schedule and I had a little bit more flexibility. So, Karla, you were, up early, off to school, and Lenise, I got you and Jesse ready for school and took you to school, that kind of thing. So I had like kid duty.
Oh yes. And remember, I went back to school and got a teaching credential. Life with Young Life, I thought it was going to be the perfect single parent job because I had so much flexibility. But when you're working with teenagers, it's a lot of nights and weekends. And I was keeping you girls up way too late, and you'd come to club and the teenagers loved you. And I had lots of babysitters. It was so awesome. But I realized as a parent, kids need a schedule and they've got to be in bed at a certain time every night. So at any rate, I changed careers, which turned out to be a huge blessing because I loved teaching elementary school, loved it. But it did take a little maneuvering to, be able to free up to do that with Heidi's help. But anyway, I got a job after the first year, but it was a commute away. And I would leave in the dark to try to get my work done at school in the wee hours. And Heidi, that's when you would get the girls up and get them to school so that I could do that. And then I would come home in time to pick them up from school or shortly thereafter.
But I would also say this, how did my life change? I would not be the person I am today without you and Jesse in my life. That's how everything changed. Right?
Absolutely. I agree.
Everything changed in a beautiful way, too.
Yeah,
I am who I am to a very large degree because of who you guys are in my life.
So my mom explored Haiti. You went all over the globe as well, Heidi. Well, where did you go?
I ended up the church in Vancouver. I kind of at times have seen my role as a pastor as kind of a midwife, and I helped sort of birth a relationship with that congregation and an NGO in Senegal, West Africa, and 17 Wolof villages. And
Nangadef.
Yeah, Nangadef. Mangifi. And trying to get out doing, for lack of a better word, doing mission in a different way, so that it was less colonial, and so we would send a team for 7 years that I was there and help kind of set up this different way of doing things. We didn't go and build something. People would ask us, "Well, what do you do? What are you going over there to do?" And we went over and built relationship with real people, and it was that profoundly was a profound impact on my life and the life of the congregation and the life of these Wolof villages too. Did deep borehole wells get built? Yes, not by us, but by organizations. Did health huts get built? Yes, but it was a people-to-people thing that church goes as learners and listeners, not as experts.
Mom, so you grew up with Young Life, and then you became the president of the board of the USFCH, which you are doing now. But you started in 2010 on the board of the USFCH, the U.S. Foundation for the Children of Haiti. What prompted you to do that, to join the board? And who are they?
Good question. I'm glad you asked. The name stands for the United States Foundation for the Children of Haiti, and it's patterned after the name of the foundation that came out in Haiti, that came out of the original home that Gladys was running. She is a woman of great, not just great faith, but great vision. And so she began to see that the educational opportunities in the neighborhood were not very good. So she decided, we're going to have to build our own school. So next thing you know, there's a school on campus at the home. And then she had was given, where disabled children came her way. So now she has a whole other learning curve and type of child that needs support and help. So now she created a home with people trained to work with and do therapy with children with disabilities. And then there was a measles epidemic, and several children died, which just was very hard on her, as you can imagine. And she said, this will never happen again. We're going to build a hospital. I mean, this is the kind of vision and can-do spirit that Gladys Thomas has. And so today, 36 years later, from the time I was there is 3 elementary schools, a home for disabled children, a hospital fully functioning, one of the best in Haiti. And in the last several years, we've built a college up in the mountains with a nursing school, iTech, and an engineering school. And all because this woman had vision and believed that God would would bring the support needed to do what he was calling her to do. So at any rate, and I've always loved Gladys, been inspired by Gladys, and simply kind of wanted to hitch my wagon to hers. I just wanted to help her do the great things that she's doing. And so however I could do that. Well, in 2010, I retired from teaching. And that opened up the doors to be able to be more and more involved. And it was actually Rebecca, who was president at the time, that said to me, Karla, we would love to have you on the board now that you're no longer teaching and may have the time. And to me, it was a dream come true. I just always wanted to do more, but really did not have the time. And you girls were both in college by then, maybe even, well, you were out of college by 2010. But so I had the time and definitely the desire. And I actually ran the sponsorship program initially for many years. And then I, just in the last 2 years, I believe, have become the president of the organization. So a great group of people, many skills, many talents. And our sole purpose is to support the work in Haiti. We don't tell Gladys what to do. We don't tell her how to do it. We just say, what do you need? How can we help? And we're about, raising the money and finding the people and to continue this good work and this vision she has for a better Haiti and a better tomorrow for the kids in the home and everybody else in Haiti.
Well, what would you like people to know about adoption from your adoption journey?
It is a beautiful, wonderful, hard journey for sure. I think your panels were so good, Lenise. Those panels really educated me, even so long after the fact of having adopted you and basically raised you. To see, Shy is the one who used a word that I thought, yes, that's it. The magnitude of adoption on the life of a human being. You can't fathom it. You really can't. And I think in my heart, oh yes, I knew it would be hard. I knew there would be problems, but everything was, we can overcome that. My kids are just going to be all the stronger because they've had to deal with issues of race, issues of being different, issues of a different language. They're going to be fighters. They're going to be, and you guys you and Jesse are strong women and you have overcome a lot. But that said, I think there was a lot more struggle and pain deep inside that I was not fully aware of because of the magnitude of, the other thing I liked from the panel that was instructive to me was when someone said, there's this idea that you're bringing a child a better life. You're bringing them to a better life. And I think I felt that way. It was like, wow, I can provide so much for these children that they're not going to get here. And it's all well-meaning, but it's really more economic, and emotional, in terms of someone to just be devoted to you instead of you at the home. There were probably 10 to 12 children per house mom. But so yes, I brought you to a better life in some ways, but not in all ways. And in ways, it was a harder life because you lost so much in losing a family, losing your family, your roots, your culture, your people. And I don't think I ever, almost until the panels, I've known it was a loss. I know it was hard, but I think until the panels, I don't think I fully grasped the magnitude of it for adoptees.
And you and I talked about the idea of grief and how imperative it is for these adoptive parents to acknowledge the history of the child when they come into this new family and to not impose upon them this dream or idea that they're not prepared to take on because they're just a child. The fact that we had, weekly or monthly Haiti nights where we acknowledged where we came from. We donated. Jesse and I were taught to donate
That's
through
right.
that gesture that night. And we knew that our clothes would be sent back to the orphanage. We were constantly sending back hand-me-downs. I remember we had a family downstairs a Mexican family downstairs, and you said, why don't we donate the toys that you don't want? And it was so exciting for us. We're like, oh, we're going to do something good. So we donated dolls and any toys that we had that we weren't playing with. And we gave them to this family downstairs, and they were just ecstatic about it. They were so elated.
I definitely remember our beans and rice night, because Heidi and I'd be like, oh, it's beans and rice night again. We were so hungry for something more, but we felt like we should do this because this is good, because there are people who are hungry in the world and this is all they get to eat. So let's do this. And I'm happy to know
that. Whose idea was
it was probably
that?
Heidi's. Heidi.
No, I think it was yours, Karla.
Really?
Yeah.
You didn't?
No,
well, I'm glad it had an impact on you, Lenise, because we didn't continue it, a couple years maybe, I don't know, but we didn't continue it, right on through.
Lenise, let me jump in on that question real quick and just say what I want people to know about adoption. White people, watch your white saviorism. Watch that. Do your homework on that. Call it out on yourself before it gets called out on you. And name it and claim it and do something about it. Mm-hmm. Number two, watch your naivete. I'm so glad these panels are out there on the interwebs now. 30 years, I wish I had this 30 years ago.
Yes.
I wish I had this language and this awareness. Watch your naivete, do your homework. These are real lives, real people with they don't just come with nothing. They come with all kinds of self prior to you, and to honor that. So be the adult in the room and do your homework. And I think I did mine too late, but better late than never. So to people that are my age that, went through adoption and are sitting there going, oh, crud. Oh, well, get over the oh cruds and do the work that you should have done. Mm-hmm. And it's not too late.
No, it's not too late.
Be the adult. Be the adult. You're still the adult. Be the adult.
Exactly. You're still the adult. And a lot of parents, adoptive parents, have just given up that responsibility once the child grows up.
Yeah. So have the hard conversations. Say, I'm sorry. Say, I got some learning to do. And it's not up to you to teach me. I've got some learning to do,
Yeah, and taking initiative, right? And being bold and daring when it comes to bringing up these hard conversations about race, about adoption, about how the adoptee feels about the adoption itself. It's imperative that the parents create an atmosphere where the child can speak freely and feel freely. Even
today, even now, to help, a child your age, their child that's your age. I think that you asked the question about courage. Where can you apply courage? And I think that would be that's where I would point to, adult, have the courage to do this. If you screwed up, it's not irredeemable. It's not too late, but you got to do the hard work.
That's exactly right. It's not too late. And that's what the bigger message is that I'm trying to propagate is better late than never. Let's start where we are, because we are all doing our best with the conditioning that we had and the resources that we have presently. That's right. And just to acknowledge that. That's right. And if we knew better, then we would have done better. But now we know better, so let's do better. So it brings us to that question of courage. Where in your life can you apply courage, Heidi?
Well, go to your mom first. In this time of racial reckoning, in this time of the death of so many Black people. Black Lives Matter. I want courage to not just say the right thing. I want courage to do the right thing, live the right thing in this time of racial reckoning.
Well, just to backtrack one quick moment, another thing in the panel that came up was just because a child doesn't seem to be having any major problems, just because, and you were a case of this, Lanice, because if you talk today to anybody who knew you back in those days from ages, say, 4 to 15, whatever, you were a happy-go-lucky child. You were the easiest kid in the world. You laughed a lot. You had a great imagination. The reality that there's still a lot more going on inside. And what some of the panelists said was they didn't want to say anything to their parents because they didn't want to hurt their parents. So realizing that as a parent and being willing to talk about it, knowing that there are hard things. So that said, me, Lanice, and I am a peacemaker on the good side. I am a peacemaker. I like people to get along. I like to be the diplomat and help people come together. But on the other side, I don't like conflict. It's, I'm path of least resistance. I avoid it at all costs. And I'm learning that about myself. So like Heidi said, during these times when there's a lot of conflict around us, there's a lot of hurt, there's a lot of hurt feelings. There's both politically in Black Lives Matter, racial injustice, and listening for me as an adoptive mom to the stories of adoptees and including your stories. These are hard things for me to face or to look at and just kind of approach head on and say, but that's okay. Enter the fray, get in there, make mistakes, but do something.
And, and that means, learning about whiteness. That means learning about white privilege. That means learning about systemic racism. That means
the privileges that are
the privileges and the power that whiteness has wielded, and I represent whiteness. So
yes, and when you read those things for the first time, or you come to the realization, there's a bit of an ouch, like, wow. Yeah. I did not know. I did not see it. I did not realize. And, so it's good. It's so good. It's just a hard journey. And so takes courage. Takes courage.
Absolutely. Well, both of you raised me, but I do have to say that both of you I consider to be my soulmates and integral to the person that I've become. And I thank both of you for being here, for supporting me no matter what. Talk about unconditional. And just seeing me through this terrifying journey of bringing this podcast to fruition and other adventures I've taken you on.
Oh, now we weren't going to cry at the end.
Thank you, honey.
Thank you, Lanice.
Thank you.
Here are my reflections on my conversation with my mom and Heidi. 1, you can start your education now, today. Whether you're an adoptee or a parent, take the information you have today and forge the thriving relationship you've been longing for. Now, of course, it will take diligence and work, but look at where I am with my parents. They choose to learn, engage, and persevere. 2, invite your friends and family to engage in your adoption journey. Heidi went to classes with my mom. Make sure the people around you are just as involved, supportive, and open to learn. 3, there are places in America that need your attention and humanitarianism. We have been conditioned to believe that it's not our neighborhoods or in our cities, but it is. The best place to start is in your own neighborhood. You'll be surprised at how many people in the United States are living in third world conditions. The media has perpetuated an idea of Black and brown countries and bodies and people needing more attention and saving. But I'd argue that I've been around the world and no skin color, ethnicity, or creed is impervious to poverty. 4. Eliminate the savior complex altogether, please. The child is coming with a history that needs to be acknowledged, and, like with any child, there are no guarantees that life will in fact be better. One person's barometer for happy life is different from another person's view on happiness. But if we continue to investigate, listen, and dare to ask what the other person needs, that happiness will flood our lives. Okay, now you know a little bit more about me. I'd love to know more about you. Reach out to me on Instagram at YoungAdoptee or go to my website, LaniceAntoineShelley.com, and share with me your thoughts on the subject. We have some adoptee guests coming soon, so stay tuned. Another beautiful episode. Thank you so much for listening, and thank you to my guest today. If you liked this episode, the best way to support me and this work is to write an iTunes review, a 5-star review. This helps us reach the top of searches and helps more people to find us. And if you personally want to connect, please reach out on Instagram or Facebook. And I have some great resource material on my website at LaniceAntoineShelley.com. So go on over there too. Until next we meet, go gently and have courage, my love.